car.
Cain refused the sacrifice.
Alexa, set the light to 40%, please.
Okay.
These were the pillars so familiar to my blighted eyes. But now that I had begun to learn their true significance, I regarded the pillars' destruction with a new, enlightened sense of horror. And I questioned now whether Cain's simple refusal, his mere ambition, could truly have caused such devastation. I felt that some darker influence was at work here.
We're finally starting to catch on.
I discerned the spirit of Ariel,
Dark
bound
side
here
people are.
now for more than a century.
Forever am I bound, hope abandoned, my spirit tethered to this place. What destroyed the circle could not touch me, for I was newly dead and beyond harm's reach. I alone was spared the descent into madness, and Cain alone was spared the
Hiya,
pain
Tom.
of death.
Yeah, I've also
When the
dropped the
practice
bitrate as well down to
seized
4K,
Cain,
so
even the
hopefully that will make it
safety
a
of the
bit
wound.
easier for people.
Much more than just his destiny was lost. All of Mnosgoth lost balance. Consider us now, both of us less than we once were. I, pure but insubstantial, and Cain, terribly real, but corrupted.
Your imprisonment here has deranged your spirit. You fixate on Cain because you believe he is the tether that binds you here. We both know he is not the author of your agony. The pillars were subverted by dark forces, invited by the Guardians themselves. The more I learn of your circle, the more I see tangled nested manipulations.
Cain handed them their victory. They sought to topple the pillars, and he was their willing instrument.
Or was he their unwilling pawn? Would it blunt your wrath to know that Cain's dilemma was calculated to bring the pillars down, regardless of the choice he made? And that the devastation would have been even greater had he chosen the path you would prescribe for him?
You are a subtle, deceitful creature. But your clever arguments do not absolve Cain. He must die for the pillars to be restored. There is no other way.
Then consider this more ominous possibility. What if Cain's death does not restore the pillars?
Yeah, it's a bit of a shame.
Consider that it may simply
It doesn't
be
help
too
as well that
late,
I
this world may
test
be
the
beyond
quality of my
you.
stream by just having a look at my channel on both the desktop and through my mobile phone as well. But I never take into account I am quite literally the only person sat on my Wi-Fi connection. And even then, like my PC, it's a wired connection into the router, so it isn't taking up any bandwidth.
Why do you hound me, demon? You can see that I am captive here. Show me some mercy.
Like the mercy you showed your fellow Guardians when you set Cain on them? Or the mercy you showed Cain when you kept him ignorant of his destiny while you used him as the scourge of the Circle? Or perhaps like the mercy you showed your beloved Naprapta when you made him Cain's first kill?
You are cruel. Why do you torment me?
I'm merely looking for answers, Ariel. Very well. I'll leave you in peace. But know this about you and this purgatory from which you long to escape. You're merely at the threshold.
Ah! Forgot about this guy. Ah! It would help if I stopped dodging into his breath. Yeah. Yeah, I've done that. Oh, I tell you what, this game was so difficult to get up and running. It did not want to cooperate. Apparently it wasn't too bad under Windows 7, but of course this is Windows 10 and it's just a completely different beast with Reaver 2. Yeah, unfortunately, the controls in Reaver 2, they weren't really designed with the Xbox controller in mind. So in theory you can set it up to work with the gamepad, but the controls are just not very responsive. So I've switched over to Joy to Key, and it's okay mostly. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's because I'm old or it's because I've still got the muscle memory from Soul Reaver 1, which was I was playing 2 days ago, I think, 3 days ago. But I'm finding that dodge button really difficult to hit right. But yeah, I get the funny feeling this is going to be the last iteration of Windows that Soul Reaver 2 will ever play on. Well, it's not so much laggy, it's where it feels the dead zone is. It sometimes has a little wander around. It just sort of changes every time when you load in the game. And this game, I mean, as I said, it does not like Windows 10 at all. So if you alt-tab out, it's a 50-50 chance whether you can alt-tab back into the game or not. And of course, if you can't, you have to restart it, and that just changes where the dead zones are again. Plus, as we said, being old and not exactly having the reflexes I once did doesn't help. Ah, there it is. Oh, well, somebody must have a sword. There it is. Right, let's make sure I actually hit the speaker this time. That's better. Might stop me having to run back so far to the circle. Didn't there used to be a demon down there? Oh, yeah, I killed it on the way through, that's right. Right, how's this thing come through to the real world? Yeah, oh no, different one. Right, where's this big one gone? There you are. When in doubt, belt it with the soul reaver. I don't know why I'm trying to shout over the sound of my own of the game's volume. I can just turn it down. Yeah, that's a bit better. The glowy green shadows again. Not going to bother fighting them. There's no point. And demon. Right, we got away. Yeah, I was on. I was watching Casey's stream yesterday. Yeah, it's so strange sometimes. When people are talking about the games they play as a kid, and you're thinking, yeah, I don't think you're talking about Pong or Space Invaders, are you?
And now you see the wasteland wrought by the tyrant's hand, by his selfish.
What's really funny is I was playing this game with my stepson when it came out, I think. So
This is the fate of Nosgoth. As long as Cain
when would that be?
remains
About
alive.
2004, 2005, I guess?
An ironic condemnation, given this guilty scene. One would think you'd torn down the pillars single-handedly. What are you trying to obliterate as you drag your loathsome body through this chamber? And why, as Nosgoth descends into madness and misery, do you appear to thrive? Things in this world, I am learning, are rarely what they seem. You, apparently, are no exception.
I am the engine of life, the source of Nosgoth's very existence. I am the hub of the wheel, the origin of all life, the devourer of death.
Or maybe you're just hungry. Could it be as simple as that? Wouldn't that be poetic irony? The great adversary of the vampires turns out to be the biggest parasite of them all.
Do not test my patience, Raziel. I made you, and I will unmake you if I become so inclined.
As your agent, I am beyond death.
There are fates worse than death, Raziel.
Oh, I see you now as you truly are. A cancer, a spooling parasite burrowed deep in the heart
To be
of
fair,
this world.
getting this game to run felt like a fate worse than
Play
death.
out your pitiful rebellion and take your place among the destroyed, the used, and the damned. But know this, you are mine for eternity.
As we're playing through
You have
this,
always
you'll
been
probably
and
notice
will
that there's
always be
camera focusing
my
problems.
soul Reaver.
And there's quite a lot of chromatic aberrations turn up whenever there's a pulsing effect during the cutscenes. And it's literally because this game just doesn't work well, as I said, with Windows 10. And it's so to get it to work, I've had to put in a very active shader pack. So the shader pack is reading the game live as it goes along, and then reinterpreting everything. Because if I don't, when you try and go under the water and stuff like that, it basically doesn't delete the old rendered graphics frames before it puts the next lot up, so they just superimpose over each other. And it makes it impossible to see anything. I mean, it makes the cutscenes difficult to follow, but when you're underwater, you really can't see anything at all. Yeah, I was lucky. So I was gaming from about the age of 7 up until uni, which was 93 for me. And then because of the university back then, now people got no money. Even back then, it was the same even with the maintenance grants. Because that was the time they phased out the maintenance grants and putting in student loans. Yeah, I thought I was about to go there. So I didn't have a computer for a while. I just didn't have any sort of computer or game system until 2000 when I got the PS1. And the first two games I got for the PS1 were Final Fantasy VII and Final Fantasy VIII. Because I'd seen the adverts for Final Fantasy VIII. For some reason they were advertising them on broadcast TV. And I'd never seen that for like a PS1 game, and it was quite rare as well, I think. So, but yeah, they were advertising them. Is there a spawn point down here? Yeah, maybe. And so, yeah, I got hooked onto the Final Fantasy games, and I think it was 2000 as well that Vagrant Story and the original Soul Reaver came out. So I got them in the same year. And if you've never played Vagrant Story, I honestly recommend it. It's worth getting it just to try so and then playing on an emulator. Yeah, I think I'm going to have to go to the bottom on this. Ah, there you are. I feel like Gandalf. I have no memory of this place. So that's where I swam in. So I'm assuming is where I get back up. But out of all the Legacy of Kain games, I think Defiance worked best. I mean, it's certainly one of my favourites. Because the original Blood Omen was good. I was streaming that about a week ago, I think. I ran that off of the emulator, the PS1 disc I had. Because there's no chance of getting that to run on the PC. That stopped working on the PC, I think, back in the days of XP, maybe. And then, as I said, yeah, I emued Soul Reaver as well. Because EPSXE is a really, really good PS1 emulator. And I did try emulating this on the PlayStation 2 emulator. And it would have worked if it wasn't let down by the audio core. Well, I missed that. All versions of Soul Reaver 2, it doesn't matter whether it's the PlayStation version or the PC version, there's problems within the audio core itself. I'm guessing because they recorded a lot of audio and then they packed it in really hard. And it's meant that both the PC and PlayStation 2 versions had a problem keeping the audio synced with the video. So any version of the game, you will hear the occasional pop and crackle as the audio gets forced back into sync with the video. And unfortunately, with the emulator, that means, yeah, yourself. It means that it'll vary the frame rate on the video to make sure that the audio doesn't go into sync instead of the other way around. And so it wasn't really working out. I thought I would activate that fountain. Nope. Yeah, uni's a tough time for money. Oh. Because I remember when I went there, you got handed, I think it was £1,300, and then you could get £800 in student loan, and that was it for the year. It was like, yeah, off you go, good luck. Yes, I've gone backwards, I think. Have I? Yes, I have. Well done. Not 13,000, 1,300. So what would happen is back then, and I guess no, tuition fees now. So back then, tuition was paid for by the government, and then you'd basically, depending on what your parents' income was like, you could apply for a maintenance grant, and that would be £1,300, so £1,300. And this, back then, they were just starting to phase in student loans as well. So you could apply for a student loan of up to £800 every year. So that was a total of £2,100. And out of that, you had to pay for your accommodation, your food, your textbooks, and everything else for the entire year. And basically, it never stretched far enough. Not even close. And now it's, of course, because they brought in the tuition fee system, you borrow the money to pay for tuition fees and courses. And that's up to, is it £9,000 a year for a course, I think? Yeah, I think they've still got it capped at 9,000. But it's not a system that's working. Basically, so many people aren't repaying them, they can't afford to. Because the whole repayment system is based on how much you earn. So you only start repaying once you hit a certain earn amount, and a lot of, because during the Blair years they, not so much forced, but there was so much emphasis on going into university and doing your course there that, so that's definitely where I came in, wasn't it? Yeah, I think so. So where's the way out? Maybe it is down there. So yeah, there was so much emphasis on going into uni to get a degree rather than accepting that people might want to go down to a vocation route. They had a glut of people come out with qualifications and no jobs for them to go to. So of course they're stuck then in minimum wage jobs and they're not earning enough to pay the student loans. And it becomes a real catch-22 because then they're stuck in that job, they're stuck on minimum wage, but worse, now they're not getting work experience in the job that they want. And because the market's glutted, now that's what employees are looking for. They want people with work experience in that particular area. And it's become a real problem in law, so that's where I ended up qualifying in. I qualified under the Chartered Institute of Legal Executives. And back when I qualified, the vocation route was not used by a great many people for law. And there weren't a huge number of people going into the law degree route either. But now, so there's so many people coming out with law degrees and vocational legal certificates. Fully qualified solicitors are having to take on paralegal jobs because there's no work anywhere else for them. Oh, nice. Yeah, scholarships are nice if you can get them. And Cambridge is a good call. I was up at Durham for my uni, so it's sort of similar to Cambridge in that it's although it's one university, it's made up of multiple colleges, which is kind of weird in the UK. We're not really used to that system, so it's only really Oxford, Cambridge and Durham that runs it like that. But yeah, it was nice there. I still remember what it was like up at Durham, and I kind of missed the place as well. Yeah. This swamp. A, I swear that this swamp is exactly where From Software got their idea of the swamps from. B, I am pretty sure that the developers of this game only put the swamp in to make the game, basically to pad out the game even more than it's already padded out. And this game is fairly padded out with quite unnecessary running about. Because it's not like you explore. You're basically running from one end of a corridor to the other and then back again. So like the game ideas were really well done, and the story, the storyboarding, the voice work is excellent. It's all outstanding, but the level design did let Reaver 2 down a bit. It was nice to actually see the level design go back to where it should have been in Defiance. No, I'm not chasing you into the swamp. Yeah, it took me a couple of attempts to do my higher education, further education. Yeah, I get confused which one's which, but I think it's higher education. Yeah, it took me a couple of attempts to do it. So the first time I was in uni, I didn't know about it at the time because it was, I mean, it was a real stigma, so it was never talked about. But I had really severe mental health problems. I actually got bipolar disorder. But as I said, didn't know about it at the time. So by the time I was in my second year in uni, I had completely fallen apart. I wasn't coping. So I ended up having to be... Oh, that's switch to action? Faster that way. So I ended up having to be what they call sectioned, so involuntarily committed to a safe one, to psych hospital. And when I was discharged from there, because of my health problems, I wasn't able to carry on with the course. But because of the way that the courses were funded, I wasn't able to change my course either. So that put me into a bit of a catch-22. So I knocked uni on the head, and then about 4 years later, 94, so 5 years later, that's when I started doing the vocational training for Silex and picked up my law certificate then. Quite handy because it was vocational. I was able to work at the same time in the same area, so I was a volunteer for a charity called Mind, and they do work, well, their focus is mental health, and their advocacy programs are based around helping people with mental health issues. So our advocacy project was designed to help people with any kind of problem, legal or otherwise, but basically to help them with anything they needed to, as long as they had a mental health problem. So a lot of the work was benefit claims and benefit appeals, but it could run from anything. I mean, the number of times we had clients come in who were due to be discharged from hospital that week and didn't have a home to go to, because the hospital would be perfectly happy to discharge them and just not care if they had nowhere to go to. And of course, because it was the end of the 90s, the beginning of 2000s, discrimination law and employment and understanding about mental health was still pretty poor. So a lot of the time people with mental health problems weren't considered to have a disability for discrimination purposes, or at least employers wouldn't accept that it was. And so you'd have people come in and basically be told that they're going to be fired, or they'd be put into positions where, having told their boss about their mental health problems, their jobs were then changed and it was made impossible for them to carry on working because their job would be changed to a different location, and they couldn't drive because of the medication they're on, and the only way to get to the job would be with their own transport, that kind of thing, you know. So the number of times you'd end up having to pick up the phone and phone HQ at Tesco's and say, look, you're discriminating against somebody with severe mental health issues, that's illegal, so you are going to have to give them a job back. And they try every time when you phone them up. They try the hope. Oh no, we're not. It's a mental health problem. It doesn't come under discrimination law. And it's like, yeah. This is like the 6th or 7th time I've talked to you this year. We both know how this is going to end. Stop wasting my time. Put the job back. You know. Because of course, I mean, that kind of advocacy work, clients can't afford to go to court. So you've got to get it sorted out before it reaches that point. I mean, thankfully, you stop shooting me, you git. Thankfully, there's less of a stigma now around mental health issues, and back in 2009, the government did a really big tidy up of our equality legislation. Because so the Act came into place in 2010. Prior to that, well, I don't need a sword. Prior to 2010, our legislation was scattered all over the place, from stuff from 1975, 66, 99, court rulings, stuff that had been ruled from the European Court of Human Rights as well. It was a really scattered mess, and you had to be on board to know about it. But as I said, it got changed, it all got put together into one Act in 2010, and the Act made it very clear that mental health issues were a form of disability, so that's made it a lot easier. Not that the companies don't chance their arms still, but at least you can point to a single piece of legislation. Thank you. And the funny thing is in the UK, as I said, I mean, a lot of our equality legislation came about as a result of the European Court of Human Rights rulings. And so, of course, that means a lot of our equality law is based on the human rights. So it ended up meaning that I've spent a lot of time specialising not just in equality law, but the human rights law around it. So now, of course, because I'm out as trans and everything, it means I get to be really gobbly on Twitter about equality law and human rights law in the UK, about how it affects trans people. Because the disinformation campaign in the UK at the moment is horrendous. I am really beginning to hate those people with those guns. Ostenheim? Might be. What are you looking at, Razia? Oh, there must be something up there. Aha! Now that was the one thing they did really, really well with this game. Raziel will look at the nearest enemy, regardless of whether you can see it or not. So that can, and sometimes that's a big help in trying to work out where you need to go next. Oh, I mean, human rights law is so important. Oh yeah, I have to go back downstairs. That makes sense. And it's one of the perpetual annoyances that I have with the toy government in this country. They love to float the idea every few years or so of taking us out of the European Convention on Human Rights.
Legend claimed
And they always come up with the same thing. Oh, well, don't you trust us to give you human rights? No, we don't. Almost all of our human rights have had to come through convention rulings. You refused to give them to us. He said, no, we don't trust you. Yes, and 2 legs as well. Thank you very much. I do love the human enemies. They give you so much time to feed on souls. Demons won't. Demons are after you, like. Oh, I really hate fighting the demons in this game. Have I just come in a circle? No, I haven't. I think I haven't. Yeah, this looks different to the way it came in. There's quite a lot of those down there. Oh, that makes it even worse. Right. went for the beheading. Not planned, but I'll take it. This feels like I've missed something. Is that the exit? Could be. Aha, I think so, yes. Or possibly no. No, it isn't. I get so turned around in this game. Mini-maps have spoiled me. I'm so used to having a mini-map I can refer to now. Good grief, it's quarter to 12 already. In that case, I better find a save point. It's getting to the point where I actually like to get some sleep. Well, take my meds and wind down and you get some sleep, I think.
This edifice was clearly not crafted by human architects. As the figure beneath the balcony silently attested, these were the Ares of winged beings. Undoubtedly, I stood before the mountain refuge of the legendary Janos Ordren, but the entire sanctuary lay in ruin, collapsed under the force of some ancient cataclysm. As I suspected, The time streamer's deception ensured that I was centuries too late to unearth anything of consequence here. With nothing behind me but the wasteland I had traversed, I resolved to press on and explore these canyons further. Oh no. Every time you turn up, something monumental and terrible happens. I don't think I have the stomach for it.
No drama this time, Raziel.
You are persistent, crossing time like this to follow me. Still waiting for that coin of yours to land on its edge.
I'm biding my time. I see that Mobius has played a little trick on you.
Yes. He clearly doesn't want me to meet this Janos Ordrin.
Perhaps. Or maybe he merely hoped that it would harden your heart against me, to see this wasteland which I single-handedly authored.
My heart doesn't need hardening, King. If I even suspected that destroying you would make any difference, I would do it this instant.
I knew you'd see through them, Raziel. Janos is indeed the key to your destiny, but you'll need to find your own way back into Nosgoth's past. Make no mistake, though, Raziel. You and I are now in great danger. We are irritants here. Malevolent forces are being marshaled to eliminate us.
You talk as though we're allies.
Regardless of your sentiments, Raziel, in their eyes, we are.
Well, they're certainly trying to eliminate you, King. There can be no doubt of that. I am assaulted relentlessly with demands for your demise. Whatever it is that you're plotting, they're scared to death of you. As for me, I suspect they made a grave error when they allowed my unique resurrection. I don't think they know how to destroy me.
You mustn't underestimate them, Raziel.
And who exactly is this diabolical they to which we keep referring? If there's some grand conspiracy going on, the right hand doesn't appear to know what the left is doing. Even Mobius seems to be caught out at every turn.
Mobius is a puppet, Raziel. Haven't you realized that yet? That's the sweetest irony in all of this. Nosgoth's great manipulator is their plaything. But the ones pulling the strings haven't shown their faces yet.
They don't like us unwriting their carefully choreographed history, though, do they?
You must understand, Raziel, we haven't unwritten history, we've merely rewritten. The future flows around our petty actions, finding the path of least resistance, while admitting only the slightest alterations. This is the reshuffling you felt when you refused to kill me. And remember, Raziel, we are irritants in this regard as well. History will not allow the introduction of a paradox.
And if events cannot be reshuffled to accommodate the change?
It is the irritant who's expelled. Bear in mind that this may be exactly the outcome our enemies are trying to provoke. We must tread very carefully.
Please tell me there's a save point somewhere. Yeah, that is not helping. Oh, not this guy again. Two of them. Where's that sword from? Aha! park to be in here? Ah, the big eye.
The scenes I discovered here were unambiguous. This race of winged beings, the architects of the pillars and the creators of the Reaver, were Nosgoth's first vampires. Their bloodthirst appeared to be a curse, inflicted upon them by their vanquished enemies. These images confirmed the truths that Cain had divulged to me, but I had been too incredulous to accept. I struggled in vain to see how the pieces fit together. How Cain intended to escape the dilemma of his destiny, and what role he had plotted for me, and why Mobius and the dark powers with which he seemed to be allied were so desperate to see Cain dead, and so intent on me being the instrument of his execution.
I must have missed a save point back in Ustenheim there. I seem to have vague memories of there being a save point back there, but yeah, a bit late to go back and get it now. Oh well, I'll stick this on pause. Unfortunately, that's all the streaming I've got time for tonight, but thanks for coming along. I shall hopefully be on again tomorrow, probably during the day and the evening as well. And I hope to see you then. Night.